You guys should just get something that has a little Wanapigao logo and then the spelling.
That would be cool. I should do that.
And then just keep it like that. So you're pimping out your shit.
Pimping out our
This is
shit.
true.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Primarily Critical of Movies at After Party. This would be it.
If you have not seen this film, we suggest that you do so before consuming any further.
Because we've got spoilers, trivia, and opinions like crazy, and we cannot wait to share them.
Good, bad, weird, or gross.
We will pass judgment on them all.
Today. You never really know what the whole story is, so don't judge. My name is Steve. I'm here with
Phil.
and
John.
Phil. Your line was good, bad, new, old, weird, or gross. You seem to forget the new and old part, but that's okay. It's okay. It's,
What? Did I drop the line?
Yeah.
it's
No,
okay.
you screwed it up, buddy. Right? You know.
Oh, well.
No. I'm just giving you a hard time. Because and we're gonna laugh a little bit because Our Friend is a very thick movie.
Very
not-
serious movie. Yeah.
It's not a happy comedy.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
This
I
is
mean,
not-
this movie is wow, because and the fact that it's a true story just it really pushes it even further. You know, it makes that gut-wrenching stuff that much more impactful, right?
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard. It's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
But okay, so Dakota Johnson plays the wife of okay, maybe I should get their characters' names properly.
Yeah.
Nicole
Yeah.
Teague plays is the wife of Matt Teague, and they get some really super bad news. Nicole is terminally ill, and I don't know. It's kind of a bromance. There's a bit of a bromance thing going on there.
Yeah, I mean there is. I mean, and we follow the movie goes. I mean, I think the earliest scene is 2008. Am I right on that? I think it spans from
It
2008 to 2013 or 14. I think is where it ends. Right. So
It covers a lot
we're
of ground.
we're spending a lot of time here, and yes, we do certainly see a bromance and a friendship. I mean, you know, bromances can be kind of trivial, light fluff, right? But this is a deep friendship that develops between these two guys over a course of many years, and actually the three of them. I mean, they're very close friends, and we're exposed to an intimate look of a gut-wrenching thing that we all never want to have to face in our life: the loss of a dear friend and a partner way too early in life. You know, she was in her 30s, right? When this,
I believe 34, 35 when she
yeah,
passed. Absolutely. This is not how things are supposed to go, right? We're supposed to
no,
experience life, grow old, and experience life in a different way. This is like the most gut-wrenching, realistic movie about following someone's journey from a terminal diagnosis to the end,
Yeah.
all the way, warts and all. And it was so amazing.
yeah. I mean, and I liked. I mean, there's a lot of beauty in this movie too, and it shows.
Yes.
You know, it you know, so as horrible as it is and painful to watch all this, there's a lot of beautiful things that come about this, and appropriately named Our Friend. This movie is it shows, where friendship, there's different levels of friendship, and not everybody can make that commitment to the type of friendship that Dane made in this movie. But wow, that's quite a commitment. That's there's not a lot of people in this world that I think would do that. I mean, it's
he sacrificed a lot, right? He basically lost his relationship, as they explain it in the movie. He loses his job, I guess, and he's got, I mean, how many people would do that for your friends? And it's not one friend, it's two friends, right?
Yeah. I had perhaps a unique perspective. I didn't know this was real. I didn't know this was based on a true story.
I didn't know either.
Trailers.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I
didn't know either.
This, and honestly, at the beginning, everybody seemed so healthy, like up in their brain. It seemed really like the guy was a really good boyfriend, and the girl was a really good girlfriend, and then this other guy was like really, really cool, bromance thing going on. And I thought this is so unrealistic.
Oh, that's funny.
But then she had an affair, and I thought, okay, they're flawed. They're flawed people. Okay.
Well,
so,
up till then, they alluded to affair with the husband, Casey Affleck's character.
he had opportunities.
But that was a bit of a twist later on in the movie. Very at the end of the movie, this movie does time jumps, but as we've covered in other movies, I'm not a fan of time jumps to movie as a story mechanism. But I was okay with this because they kept giving you like specific times. They would tell you 2 years before the diagnosis, or so forth.
So they kept perspective relevant to.
They kept you locked in and understanding what's going on and jumping around, so that you didn't in other movies they don't even give you that courtesy. So I appreciate that.
I still found it annoying.
You did?
Yeah, there was times where I got a little confused. Like I thought, is this before that event or is that before that? Trying to keep the timeline got a little hazy at a couple times, but not bad.
Exhausting. It gets exhausting to do that in the movies, guys. I don't know. It's a mechanism they use in other movies.
Yeah.
And does it need to happen? But that's the way they chose to do it. So
I think it needed to happen. I think because I like one of the time jump things I do like is that we start very early in the movie, almost near the beginning, is we see these kids out on a porch and they're trying to spot raccoons, and then they get called in, but we don't have any context to that. We don't, and then the movie builds context to that moment. And I felt by doing that, it made that moment even more impactful. It was just gut wrenching.
It was.
I was tearing up. Yeah, trying to explain to the kids that their mom's going to die. And because we had visited earlier, to come back to that moment, there's something about it. It made it more impactful. Yeah, it made it more impactful.
There was a lot of that. There's some heavy, and we talk about, and I'm proud that we review movies that are heavy movies with heavy subject matter that matter. Not a lot of stupid action crap or whatever. We do some pretty serious we do serious movies, and this one is one of the most serious, heavy movies I've seen.
Yeah.
And they handle this movie so well. It's directed.
They really did.
Acted. Absolutely.
I thought the acting, one of the things that the acting was phenomenal in this, because you're asking a lot of your actors and actresses to be able to show such emotion, and to be so convincing with it. And I thought, wow, Casey Affleck and Dane, what's his name?
Jason Segel. Yeah.
Yes, you know, and
Yeah.
her too. They just
Oh,
amazing. Like it was
how
not a moment where I was taken out of it because I thought they didn't really pull that off. You know, it was
they
just
they
stellar.
they all had their moments to really shine. I particularly like Dakota Johnson's role as Nicole.
Yeah,
How do you take a character from like happy times, healthy, like Steve alluded to, healthy prime of your life to dead, literally dying on
yeah,
screen? The character arc was incredible. And then later on, you get like the husband, Matt's character, Casey Affleck, showing like dealing with the grief and writing
yeah,
the story that he would later give to our friend, the story that was based on that. That's what it was based on, this movie, and carrying on. They follow the whole from the beginning to end of someone's diagnosis to death, and they did not
yeah,
shy away. The acting was on point. Holy crap! What a
Did,
yeah.
did Dane sacrifice too much?
oh yeah, absolutely. I think so.
I mean, I think so, but you know, I think it caught. But I at the same time, you look at, and I'm glad they brought it in the movie. You look at the stuff he was going through in his personal life. I mean, we're talking about a guy that had moments of suicidal thoughts and really felt like,
Yeah,
you know, he wasn't going anywhere in his life. He felt like a loser. Now, in the real story, the real essay, apparently he's not quite as much of a loser as they made in the movie. But I do think that he had serious depression issues and probably lacked meaning in his life. And so when you have a person that's lacking meaning, doesn't know their purpose, he was given a real purpose and a real meaning in his life, and man, was it important. I mean, he became such an important role and such a meaningful opportunity for a person in life. So you can see that somebody that who's suffering with mental health and struggling, that this is something that I can feel like I'm somebody. I feel like I'm important here, you know. And I think he was searching for that. I think the movie showed that he was searching for his own importance, and he found it.
yeah.
And so you could say, yeah, maybe he sacrificed too much, but maybe this is exactly what he needed to, you know, find fulfillment in his life.
Maybe.
And they definitely they took a great effort to show Dane's travel on his hike, which alluded to his potential attempt at suicide, and they brought in another character to guide him through it, which was interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
Um,
is kind of like his spirit animal. She
yeah,
showed up out of
yeah.
nowhere.
She
yeah,
was from Game of Thrones, right? She's
yeah,
the Game of, yeah,
yeah.
right.
And it was like a diversion from the movie. It just went on this like it was a time jump back to a time when and it was important, like John alluded to, that he needed this because I think it was important to him at the time, and it was really telling at the end when they dealt with knowing she had passed, but then they dedicated like the last 20 minutes of the movie to deal with the aftermath of, a lot of movies would just end on that,
And with that, yeah,
would just like, and a lot of movies don't even deal with the actual death of someone. They just, well, she was terminal, and then they have the funeral, or it's not dealt with on screen. So I give this movie props for dealing with death
Yeah,
in a
it's
way
it gets really really heavy.
really real.
Now we did a movie called Paddleton. You guys remember that?
yes, we've talked about, Lori and I could not help but bring up Paddleton with this movie.
Comparisons,
Yes,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So in Paddleton, a dude is terminally ill, and he decides that it's going to be too much trouble, and
yeah,
he goes to his doctor and gets a suicide pill.
yeah,
Um, and I couldn't help but draw parallels to just
absolutely. Yeah, no, this,
how
yeah,
awful she ended up the last few months of her life were.
yeah,
yeah. They're the tone of those two movies are very similar. There's a comedic thing there going on. There's a very real like thing going on. So
Yeah.
it's a good parallel.
Well, there's little things in here that, like, it just like, we've all lost loved ones, and I think when we lose someone that's a loved one, we have those moments of where, like, what was it? She's given her bucket list,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he says to him, he goes, I hope you make jokes when you're making my bucket list, right, or whatever. And so there's a funny moment there, talking about someone's bucket list, right? Well, this reminds me, when I've gone through losing a really close loved one, it's like that. You have these moments of where you just laughter and stupid fun in the midst of it, and I think that's human nature. You have to have that, I think, and I'm glad they brought that into the movie, because I think that's actually realistic. That happens,
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, I made a note on the positive side in this movie of a heavy subject. There was not a lot of light in this movie, except for the friendships and the love for each other. But she got to die peacefully at home with family and friends. She, at the end of it, had an amazing palliative care nurse, right? So it seemed like this angel flew in and just
unbelievable woman, yeah,
right,
unbelievable.
Yeah, and you could see the casting for her was amazing.
Yeah. And she got to handle her affairs and her wishes at the end of her life and communicate them with the letters she left for the daughters.
Yeah.
That was so touching. Just so incredible, touching stuff.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't get Katy Perry, but I had to make a note of that.
Yes, she did not get Katy Perry. No.
I bet Katy Perry kicks herself for not.
Yeah, well, now this movie's out. Yeah. She's probably like, I didn't know. Nobody told me.
I think the hospice nurse, what was her name? Faith, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who cast her in that movie, but she was just amazing. She walked into the room and you knew immediately that she had a sense of things, and there was a lot of nonverbal communication. It was crazy.
Yes, and Lori and I, we watched that and we go, people like her in the real world, like people, these are amazing people. Someone that can go into that and be that person.
They're angels.
What a gift to the planet. We need people like that, and thank God, and there's probably not enough. We need more people like that, but unbelievable woman, Yeah.
The more I think about religion and the more I think about things, heaven and hell are on earth right now with us. In a world like that, she was an angel. She is an angel.
She really was. Yeah.
She is.
You could also, it was also Casey Affleck and Jason Segel in the room looking exhausted.
Yes. Yes.
That so authentic looking, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was really,
like, and then you
really
learn
cool.
about, for weeks they've been trying to deal with her mania, dementia, or what having.
Yeah.
Right?
I haven't recognized her for 4 months, I think he said, right?
I mean, and they had no clue, and she just walks in and says, you need to put her on antipsychotics. Where was any of that for weeks?
Yeah.
Well, they didn't know to ask for it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
This
Wow. I mean,
movie,
I think if you didn't tear up at least in this movie, you're not human. I mean, this is wow. For me, there's two moments where I just couldn't. The tears rolled down my face, and then they were when telling the kids. I mean, that's as a parent, I can't imagine having to tell my kids that to me that would be like the most horrible thing I would ever have to face in my life, so I could relate to that. And I thought, wow, it just okay. And the other one, this always gets me, even movies that are fiction, is when you see someone hugging the corpse of someone the loved one that just died, and he's sitting there like she's dead, but he's still holding, getting that last bit of heat out of her body and whatever, he can't let go, right? Man, this stuff got me. I mean, that was just, that's stuff that just, it's gut-wrenching stuff. You know, I mean, if you have a heart, that stuff is hard to watch. You know.
It was hard to watch. It was hard to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say a movie like this just makes other movies feel silly. It's such powerful stuff.
You shut your face.
I'm grateful that it was made to like. Nobody dealt with grief in other movies like this. Like there's been a few, right? We've reviewed them, but wow.
Yeah.
Such amazing movie.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. No, okay. On a lighter note, early in the movie, we see when they go back, I think it was 2008, but basically before Casey Affleck, what's his character again? Matt. Before Matt had met Dane, they show her talking to Dane in when he's running the spotlight at some theater production, right?
That's when they first met.
In that scene, does Dane not remind you of Mark Duplass? I mean, the way he talked, the way he looked, his hair, everything. I'm like, oh my God, it's like he looks like right out of Creep, right? Like it was so Mark Duplass to me. I don't know. I almost thought it was Mark Duplass when I first started watching this movie, and I hadn't really given it much thought. I'm like, what's he doing in it? And I'm like, that's not him, you know, but
no,
it was close.
Ladies and gentlemen, John has a bit of a man crush
on Mark Duplass. Yes.
No, actually, I didn't know that Jason Segel was in this movie, and and that was the scene that we first meet him. Anyway, it was the first scene I recognized.
Yeah, that could be the first scene.
It's very early in the movie, and they made his hair. They were trying to make him look younger, right?
Yeah, so they made it shaggier and
But I tell you, you know, so much to love about this movie, and what I had before I forget, I love the soundtrack. The music to this movie was fucking amazing. Like Led Zeppelin was in it a couple times. They whoever picked the placement of the music in this movie was so emotionally perfect. Watch it again. Think about the movie if you want to watch an emotional movie like this again.
Props to Rob Simonson.
Okay, it took an emotional movie, but just put it over the top with some of the placements of the songs.
Yeah.
And wow, like
it's good stuff. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, the only criticism, if you had to pick for criticisms, I think we already covered it. Is maybe losing the jumping in the timeline. But,
a little less. I don't know. It seems to be a thing.
We always knew where we were in relation to the prognosis.
Yeah,
but we never knew where we were in relation to the other things.
That's exactly. There was a couple times there where I couldn't. Did this happen for that event, or is this? You know, it was the timeline got foggy with things outside of the diagnosis at times with the jumping around. But
because it was important to trigger the next thing, right? You go too much jumping around. But
I mean, I don't want to criticize this movie. I thought it was done amazing. I mean, like I say, when you have acting like this in such difficult roles and when it's executed so well, you just feel like a schmuck looking for anything bad in this movie. I mean, it was just, and it's based on a true story. I mean, I really, you know, I don't want to be primarily critical right now. You know,
how do you even act some of these parts? Like, how do you act?
And the scene where she's freaking out on, like, obviously she's going a little nuts there, and she's yelling at her husband and stuff, and Dane comes in to try to, like, okay, like, I'll take care, like, you just leave, Matt, you know, I got this, and then she starts pointing at him, and I mean, oh my God, that was so real. Like, I was in there, like, I'm like, he's gonna friggin' hit her or something, right? Because she's just pushing his buttons, you know, and man, it was executed so well. Like, I just looked at both of them, I thought, like, I can't believe you guys are pulling this off so realistic. You know, it was, I felt like I was watching a live video or something. Like, it was just nuts.
Yeah, it
It's
was disturbingly real.
absolutely like it's gonna be it always will be a thing in the social media age. Can you imagine complicating things further with a smartphone and somebody in that position? It's just a lot of things coming at you.
Yeah.
And all the while they're trying to raise two daughters, and they do a wonderful job of like showing their struggle with it too, right? And like John alluded to earlier, it's gut wrenching when they finally, when the mother decides it's time to tell them, you know, I'm terminal, and like, and they cut to a scene where Dane's on the porch and he's hearing it. They all know it's such a heavy movie, sad, but so well done.
You know, and I think it's this type of movie is extremely important for people that are going through it. Like, this is why these movies are so important to be made, because maybe it's not like you know, maybe lots of people want to go to movies for laughs and they walk out feeling all lighthearted and stuff, but I'm really glad these movies are out there and stuff, because I think at the end of the day, like, people are going through this every day somewhere in the world, you know, and they need stuff like this. They need to watch something like this so they can go, hey, I'm not alone. You know, this is really how it's like, and I'm glad that they put this on screen and did it in such a realistic way that those people have a movie like this to connect with, you know, and it's their story too, you know, and someone ought to tell it, and I'm glad it was done really well, you know.
Absolutely. I will say this, it's not in the trivia. Matt, the main character, the father,
Teague, I think it is. Matt Teague, I think.
Teague.
Teague.
He wrote the story, the article. It basically, he was a consultant on the movie and a producer on this movie. Apparently, it's very authentic to you know how sometimes they embellish and make things more over dramatic. This is a very authentic movie. From the things I've seen and reviews I've read, this is a very true story.
Yeah,
It's
an
so
authentic
you
retelling.
really feel it. So
all right, let's get into this trivia. Shall we get into this trivia?
okay.
Yeah, let's get in the trivia.
All right. Number one, creators.
I can take the first one here.
Oh no, I got it. Can you hear me all right now? Can you hear me now?
Oh no, wait.
Can you hear me now?
You sound a little robotic to me, but
you catch it.
I'll take the first one here.
Yeah.
Creators got approval of the Led
Yes.
Zeppelin music just days before the film's release. So what a relief!
Wow, that what a relief, because that was kind of important part of that with the I Don't Get It band for Dane, and he got it at some point, at least one song.
He did.
Oh,
that's right.
Like I alluded to earlier, the use of music in this movie is amazing. And that song was Going to California, I believe is the title. Right? And Zeppelin,
that's right.
Zeppelin does not freely give out their music to things, movies, TV commercials, so on and so forth, easily. Like, or they're very protective of their product. So,
well, they
believed in this project.
Yeah, they must have been like, yeah. Who could?
This next piece, absolutely. This next piece of trivia, actually, my wife Lori brought this up told me about this, so she had read up on this, I guess. But I'll read it. While she had no issue being totally nude in front of a cast and crew in the 50 Shades trilogy, Dakota Johnson admitted that having to sing in front of an audience for this film gave her an anxiety attack. She said, singing in front of people is actually so terrifying for me. We had to shoot the scene where you don't even really see me. The camera's in the back of the house. you can't even tell what's going on. And I was meant to be performing in community theater, and they hit playback of my vocal recording and called action, and I had a panic attack that manifested in all ways that it can. I just took off running around this theater, around backstage. I was running around and started laughing hysterically, and everyone on the crew was like, "What is she doing? Running around laughing? Stop moving and crying, or running around." Anyways, she freaked out. I actually heard what Lori told me. She actually threw up. She was so
Well,
part of that panic attack, and yeah, so she has a thing about singing.
wow, that
There
is
you go.
just
But she pulled it off.
amazing.
She pulled it off. Yeah.
I shocking, because yeah, like you would think being in a
50
movie,
Shades. Yeah, you think
Soft-
50 Shades
soft
would
porn,
yeah.
basically soft porn movie,
I
be a tougher job.
haven't seen
But
it.
but that scene is at the end of the movie, and apparently based on a real videotape of a performance she did while she was dealing with cancer, and it's
Wow.
stunning stuff, right? It's all realistic. It's based on
Yeah.
things that happened. And I tell you, Dakota Johnson, after all of seeing her work, I mean, I can't wait to see what she does next. We reviewed her movie. She was in Peanut Butter Falcon.
Falcon, yeah. I mean, she's picking great movies, and I'm glad she's one of these people that is not afraid of the good projects. You know, she likes to go for these amazing projects, and I'm a huge fan.
This is actually absolutely like amazing stuff she did here. All of them, all the actors.
Well, I hope that they were able to recoup their money, because it looks like they lost a lot. Probably because of the pandemic.
Is that? Are you serious? I'm very disappointed to hear that. I didn't even see that.
I don't know. This seems like this movie came out like in 2000. It was supposed to come out
right before the pandemic,
and it didn't get the love it probably deserved.
This was one of those pandemic nightmares. They just released it. Pandemic hit.
Possibly.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I'll take the next trivia here. Dakota Johnson and Jason Segel previously co-starred in the 5-year engagement 2012.
No kidding.
Not familiar with that.
Not familiar with that either.
I will say I've seen Jason Segel, and he's famous for movies in the past. I've just recently saw one. Oh gosh, with it was on Hawaii, Forgetting Sarah Marshall. That was it. Do you guys remember that one?
He's famous for How I Met Your Mother.
How You Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Forgetting Sarah Marshall. There's other movies, but he plays similar characters throughout his career. But
he did do a movie called Bromance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he always plays like a likable guy. Like,
yeah,
he's not like a serial killer type or a bad guy.
No, he's not a tough guy. He's not he's
soft. He should be a bad guy.
He's got a heart. Like, I'd love to see him play a bad. Yeah.
I want to see him be a serial killer.
Jason. Live up.
Hey, creep. Okay, if Mark Duplass, he's they kind of similar look. He could maybe pull off that.
Wow.
Right.
We got it going on here. But hey,
be the next Dexter villain. Anyway, the last piece of trivia is the movie was formerly called The Friend. Now they changed it to Our Friend. I'm not sure.
I don't think the movie was for that. That's the title of his essay, was The Friend. So he wrote an essay, and it was called The Friend, and that was made into a movie, which is Our Friend. I mean,
I don't think that's unusual. There's working titles, right? They change things for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But I mean, sorry, go ahead, John.
Well, no, you go ahead. You first.
Oh, I got some extra bonus trivia. In 2015, Matt's article, The Friend, titled The Friend, was published in Esquire magazine. it went on to receive the National Magazine Award. So
Yeah.
this is what the root of this movie was from. And I want to read the actual article. So
I know I feel like a schmuck doing this podcast without
No.
actually having read that. If I had more time, I wanted to do it, but I didn't read it, and so
yeah,
too bad.
I
But
feel, yeah, and it sounds like they did a great job by the article. So
yeah, I mean, there's the only criticisms I heard out there is that apparently she was more heavily involved in the church than the movie portrayed. In fact, I don't know if they portrayed that at all.
No,
and
they
that
don't. It's not
no,
religious.
and that there was a lot of help from the people from the church that it wasn't really shown in the movie. But I think the thing is that this is a movie that was focused around the integral role of, obviously, I think Dane was a bigger role than anybody from the church. And even though they may have had a big role in helping, it was to focus. You can't get everything in a couple hours, right? So you have to, you have this, and this is off an essay titled "The Friend." So I mean, this was about that relationship, and so you had to be selective. So I'll defend that choice not to include that. I think that was a good choice. I understand that the people probably that really helped out a lot from the church might feel like a little left out, feel like they didn't get their fair. Yeah, a little slighted, but I mean, come on, this is it was really well done. I think it was, the importance of it was about that friendship, and that's what this story is about. That could be a separate story, and that could be a equally important story, but you can't cover it all.
Yeah, they did make sure that we all knew she was involved in the community. And they did make sure that we all knew that other people were helping, but then they were falling away.
Yes.
She even lashed out on social media when she was mentally declining.
You know what? In a way, it's like I'm okay with that decision to do that, because it should be about the friend. And in my opinion, maybe they could have focused more on the friend's dynamic relationship with both of them. But it was a balance they had to choose, right? Like, there's only so much.
I'm not going to criticize this movie. I think it was done amazingly well. So, I think there could be some slighted feelings out there from the real story, but that's just going to happen. That's going to happen in any story when you're condensing it down to a couple hours, covering a span of over a decade, or no?
It was about a decade.
Span of, not a decade. No, sorry, it was only about 6 years or whatever, but. Still,
well, they did say 10 years before diagnosis or whatever.
Oh yeah, you're right.
It went over a significant chunk of their life. Like we talked about earlier, she was only in her mid 30s when she passed. Upon other research I did, apparently they're still good friends, Dane and Matt, which is good to know. And Matt went on to remarry.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, he's a young man. I mean,
that
of course he's gonna
youth, and I think there's other children involved, but I wonder how the kids, like, think about the kids. This is like, when they look upon this, this is a movie version of them. Like, I know we got to wrap up here, but
we got to wrap up. Unless you have things you really want to say, we could start.
No, I just want to say I didn't give enough props to Casey Affleck. He was amazing, but we'll put it at that. I'm good to say that he was amazing as well. So
that was our friend. We are primarily critical. You're awesome for listening, and next week, Monday at noon, it'll be to be announced. It'll be really close to Halloween, so maybe we'll have something scary for you. Ooh. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.